Hello, welcome. I am Fernanda Hitchhiking Stars, sharing with you some important astrological information so you can create the beautiful life that you'd like to live. Be the best person that you want to be. So we're talking about constructive astrology. And today what I'm going to be sharing with you is some information about the new moon. So we have a new moon coming up on the 18th of June, 2023. And that new moon will be happening at 26 degrees Gemini. So the month of June had the lunations emphasizing the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius as well. So we had a full moon in Sagittarius a couple of weeks ago. And now we're having a new moon at 26 degrees Gemini. Now there are a couple of things that I'd like to share about this new moon. There's an interesting energy about this new moon. Now, new moons are connected with the beginning of a cycle, of a lunar cycle, of a fertility cycle. So we can create something during these 28 days if we align ourselves with the lunar cycle. So now is a time for putting seeds and setting intentions and having a little bit of a feeling of what this lunar cycle brings as a promise, based on the astrological chart of the moment of this new moon. So what is reflected in the chart of this new moon in terms of the potentials of the major energy that this lunar cycle will bring to us, and how can we place an intention or create a ritual for intention that will be aligned with these energies as well. So this is what we're going to be focusing on. And there is a very interesting dual energy, and it wouldn't be anything less when Gemini is connected, right? We know that Gemini is the sign connected with the twins, so it does talk about dualities and, two minds, two sides to the story, etc. Divisions, let's put it that way when it comes to Gemini. Now, there is a strong division in terms of the energies, and I'd really like to talk about it with you, because this new moon, the closest aspect that this new moon is making is a square. So it's a 90 degrees with Neptune. So the new moon will be happening at 26 degrees Gemini, and will be coming to form a 90 degrees with Neptune at 27 degrees Pisces. So it's a very, very tight square. It's also what we call an applying square, because the sun and the moon are coming to square that Neptune. So the aspect is forming, which usually has a much stronger impact than when the aspect is leaving it behind. So this square points out to the duality of what this lunar cycle could be connected. As on one hand, we have the Neptune in Pisces, which is very intuitive, is very connected with transcendence. Pisces is ruled by Neptune in modern astrology, so it's a kind of a double flavor, double sort of a double whammy we call in astrology, when there's like twice of the same energy. So Neptune in Pisces has this flavor of twice, this Piscean flavor, very powerful. And the sun and the moon in Gemini there is very rational. So we have a clash of energies here, because the Piscean style of doing things is very different from the Gemini style of doing things. So Pisces will be prone to transcending or trying to transcend the reality in some way, retreating into the world of dreams. And Gemini will be connected with dissecting, analyzing, rationalizing, thinking things through. So we have this dual energy here. And when it comes to the Sabian symbols, now, if you've been following me, you know that I always use the Sabian symbols to get some deeper insights about the lunations. That duality is also reflected. So when I looked into the 27th degree of Pisces, the Sabian symbol is a fertile garden under the full moon reveals a variety of full-grown vegetables. So there is a connection with full satisfaction and connection as well, as a symbol of abundance and this sort of greatness as well, which I think is what we're seeking, because it's Neptune at 27 Pisces, so it's what we're longing. We're longing to this full and utter satisfaction with this great abundance, with this great sense of abundance. Now, when we look into the symbol of Gemini, for the 26th degree of Gemini, we have a gypsy emerging from the forest where her tribe is encamped. So the idea with the symbol, and the Sabian symbols can be quite strange with, some of the imageries, but I really like to ponder on them and to read a little bit about them as well. And this one is talking about going out from the forest. So leaving that sense of abundance and that sense of connectedness and that sense of being part of nature into a larger whole of mind structure existence. So the Sabian symbol for the 26th degree of Gemini is talking about building a city. It's talking about creating a structure, so a man-made structure where we can use rational energy, where we can use consciousness. And so Dane Rudyard, which is who I'm using for the Sabian symbols today, he's talking about a yearning for a new state of consciousness and a way of creating inner transformation, but through interpersonal relationships, through a city. So leaving behind the tribal instinctual stage and emerging into a realm of mind and complex, tense interpersonal relationships. So we're talking about the city. We're talking about leaving the wild drives of nature and reaching towards a situation where it will be tamed, where we'll be able to rationalize. So very interesting how these two symbols are kind of interconnected, because the imagery for the Neptune in Pisces and this 27th degree of Pisces is that sense of abundance. Yeah, that guarding of abundance that I read, and that sense of longing as well, the longing to be taken care of. Nature will take care of us, and leave and let leave type of approach, So everything, all of the individual basic needs are satisfied with that image of that Neptune in Pisces. But the sun and the moon are talking about leaving that natural set. Now, don't take this literal, because I'm very, I love nature and nature-based practices as well, and being embodied and, following the cycles of nature as a way to understand our own cycles. But in this particular symbolism here for this new moon, we're talking about being more rational. And rational with that square from Neptune, it's like an inner battle that we might be going through during this lunar cycle, on how to find the thread, on how to actually manifest things and create things in our lives without disappearing in the collective. We need to emerge. And the image of the gypsy as well brings questions about, are your loved ones holding you back on what you believe and what you're going to create in your life? Is really talking about emerging and creating your structures, creating your interpersonal relationships, is a man-made creation. As, Gemini sort of rules cities. And if you are a Gemini, or if you know anyone that's a Gemini, they don't particularly like to retreat in nature for too long. They actually thrive in busy places, busy cities, where they can exchange and they can learn things and, in a more fast pace. So think about that in a more symbolic way as well. Where in your life do you need to be more rational and to create the structures that will enable you to actualize your dreams, but in a more rational way? I think this lunar cycle is really kind of telling us to emerge or to find ways of integrating that dream in a more rational way. a great way of putting that into practice is doing creative writing, because writing is Gemini, and that creative Neptune would be able to be channeled. That energy of Neptune could be channeled as well. Another planet I checked the Sabian symbols because I was curious is Mercury. So Mercury is the ruler of that sun and that moon in Gemini. And Mercury is in Gemini as well, is at the 11th degree of Gemini. Now the Sabian symbol for the 11th degree is a black slave girl demands her rights of her mistress. Again, there is a sense of standing up and fighting for your rights as an individual. So leaving that state of being merged with your group, being merged with, societal roles or the family unit or whatever it is that might be, holding you back, and you standing up for yourself. So this new moon, this lunar cycle has a very strong energy connected with standing up for your rights, for yourself, and fighting to be an individual somehow. The general energies as well of the chart, as I look at it, is very extroverted, because we have the sun and the moon in Gemini. We have the ruler Mercury in Gemini as well. And the tightest aspect that Mercury is doing is a sextile to Venus. Now Venus is at 11 degrees Leo as well. And Leo is the sign of individuality, is the natural sign connected with the sun, and personal expression, creative expression as well. So this lunar cycle is somehow, and we could set intentions around individual emergence, individualizing somehow from the group, finding a way of creating a container for personal transformation that's out of our own volition with the Gemini. And that also prioritizes interpersonal relationships rather than escapism, which would be the shadow of Neptune. Escaping from reality, escaping from real connections, from real structures in life. Let's put it that way. So during this new moon, we also have Mars in Leo, and Mars is coming to trine Chiron in Aries. So again, I have this sense of healing individuality, healing individual needs, emerging from a sense of being bind and not being able to voice it up, to find your voice, to speak up, to be assertive as well. Finding your voice in the middle of all of the tendence to be to have no boundaries. That Neptune has no boundaries. So we're fighting for our boundaries during this lunar cycle. So we can set any intentions connected with healing boundaries, healing assertiveness, finding your voice with that emphasis in Gemini. Speaking up. A great way could be writing lyrics, singing songs as well, so you can find the thread of how to best express yourself individually, which is the theme of this lunar cycle. So that's it. This is the key information that I wanted to share with you, and I'm wishing you all a wonderful new moon in Gemini, very informative new moon in Gemini, and that you find your voice during the cycle. So I will be speaking to you soon. Bye.